So you sold for 600,000.
Yes.
W in the chat.
Yes.
Wait, so hold on. 600,000 times 0.3. I'm just I don't even know how much that is, to be honest. Well, $18,000.
Oh, he doesn't know what that is. So you did the math.
I mean, just a master in economics. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
What would I know about
You're
that?
correct. Yes, 18,000.
Dang.
But a lot of people see those numbers and they're like, man, real estate agents are balling.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back into another episode of the Carlos Granados podcast, or as I like to call it, the CG podcast. And today we have another special guest. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things, but right now, real estate is her specialty and we're going to get into it. So without further ado, Katherine, welcome to the channel.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm very nervous.
You're looking great. You're standing out.
Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of people get a little nervous when they start a podcast, but eventually, once you get comfortable, you just get mixing and nothing. It's nothing crazy. Yeah. So
I'm ready for that part.
Awesome. Well, before we get started, I want to say thank you guys to everyone who has been subscribing to my channel, who has been listening. Also, don't forget that we are on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. So, and of course, if you're listening to on all those channels, I also have a YouTube channel where you can watch the video in 4K. So don't forget to subscribe to it's Carlos Granados or Carlos Granados podcast. But Katherine, let's get into the mix. So I was gonna start with different things. We were gonna start different things before we were planning the session. But you are a single mom, and I wanted to ask you about that. I don't think I've had a single mom here on the channel yet. And then I wanted to get into more of like, what is it? How is it like? What are some of the struggles of being a single mom? And like, maybe even what are some of the freedoms of being a single mom and just enjoying it, So if you can get into that, that would be great.
So I've been a single mom now. My daughter's 11, so I've got a middle schooler.
Awesome.
Can't believe it. But honestly, I mean, I've really enjoyed being a mom. When I had my daughter, unfortunately, it was followed by a little bit of tragedy. So about 3 days after I had my daughter, my brother actually passed away.
Oh no!
And it was a very tragic accident that happened.
Like a car accident?
It was actually on the news. So we have family in Dominican Republic. That's where I'm from. And so we also have family in Florida. So after visiting family in Dominican Republic, they went to visit other family in Florida, and they went to a Miami Marlins game.
Oh, okay.
And basically, there was someone driving that shouldn't have been driving due to medical issues and some medications that they were taking.
Oh, man.
And so I think that they had from what I read, what happened is that they had a cardiac arrest, lost control of their vehicle. Yeah. And as they were driving, my brother, my grandmother, an aunt, and my sister, they were walking from the game to the car.
Oh, no.
And unfortunately, they were struck by that minivan. And we honestly didn't know who all, survived initially because, my sister was part of the accident. I had an aunt that was part of an accident. Grandmother was part of the accident. So we didn't know. A lot of reports were coming in. And I was a new mom and, not knowing, what was going on with my brother and my sister. It was very emotional.
Right.
I guess.
Man, I can only imagine.
Yeah. And thankfully, well, not thankfully, but how do I say this? Luckily, my sister was okay. She was injured. However, I did lose my grandmother, my aunt, and my brother in that accident.
Wow.
3 days after having my daughter. And
oh, man. I'm sorry to hear that. That must have been so tough.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, man.
It was very tough. So not to give TMI, but I had my child via cesarean. So the recovery time for that is typically much longer than when you have a child naturally. So
is there like how much longer do you think it is?
Like typically you'll stay in the hospital for at least 3 days after.
Oh.
So the day of the accident was actually the day that I was, allowed to go home.
Wow. But that's not that has nothing to do with like the 90 days, right? Of like,
Well,
is that for sex? Like once you
yeah.
have, so 90 days
And
out.
I
Okay.
think that it's
Okay.
I think it might be a little bit longer. Okay, so the thing is, when you have a cesarean, you've got, they cut through the muscle and everything.
Okay.
So you've got this, you need help with a lot of things. Like just getting up out of bed, you need help with, because you can't add that pressure.
To your abdomen area.
Laughing and coughing is difficult.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I remember after the cesarean, the nurses came and they're like, "All right, Kat, it's time for you to get up and walk." And I was like, "No, I don't want to get up."
Wait, so what is there a reason as to why you have to have the cesarean? Is that what it's called, or is
A
it
C-section.
a C? Here we go. I knew I heard a different name before. So is there a reason as to why you wanted to have it, or you specifically requested it?
I didn't request it actually. So what happened is that we were waiting. I was induced. We were waiting, and for whatever reason, my daughter Ayla was like, "No, I think
I don't want to come out yet.
I'm chilling.
Yeah,
I'm good where I'm at." And so something happened. Her heart rate jumped, and they were scared, and so it was an emergency C-section. And super scary experience.
So your water broke though, and then when you went to the hospital, or
they broke so they induced me. They broke my water for me. All of that.
But you're still awake during that process, right?
I'm still awake
Okay,
during that
cool.
process. I had an epidural, thankfully. And yeah, I didn't feel anything initially. It was just the recovery time that's a little difficult.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that was that's actually informative because I really had no idea. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So keep going. So the accident happened with your family,
my brother, and
yeah.
So that meant that my mom had to fly out to Florida to identify, verify all of these things. My sister's still in the hospital as well. She has no idea, what happened with my brother at that time. And so it was really difficult being a new mom. My mom had to fly out. I mean, I don't know if my brother and my sister are, alive. And then also, like, I didn't have that support of my mom, helping me. And, thankfully I did stay with an aunt at that time while they were, so I was thankful for that. We made accommodations. But it was an experience, a unique experience to being a new mom.
Yeah.
And a lot of people talk about postpartum depression.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
So that was intense because, I mean, postpartum, getting used to being a mom, for the first time. And then also, experiencing this by myself and not really with another partner that's just as excited or, involved or, it's sad. And
yeah,
it's a lot.
So what was that like? What are some of the symptoms that you get like during the postpartum, or what is it that you feel, that you get, the emotions? What is it like? I guess from a man's perspective, we will never be able to relate to that. And I hear a lot of women talking about, that depression. So what is it like? What is it that you guys feel? Maybe it can help a lot of men understand. So eventually when I have, go through that process with my wife or something, I want to be able to understand. And hopefully a lot of men can have that mentality too. So what is it like?
So I think everyone is different, right? So postpartum is different for everyone. But for me specifically, it's getting used to a new schedule, getting used to your body being different, feeling the outside pressure of the world to quote unquote snap back, and it can take a toll on just having these new set of responsibilities that throughout the 9 months that you're pregnant, you're excited, but then it's a lot, especially if you carry that on your own, and you don't have like that support where it's like, hey, I got up, this third hour, can you bring the baby here, or kind of like.
So let me ask you. So why is it that at this point you are alone now? So it didn't work out with the person you were with, or it was just something that, a one night thing you got pregnant? What was that like? Like what? So,
I have an 11-year-old and I'm 29. So I had my daughter young. I had my daughter at 18 years old.
Right.
It wasn't a one night stand. It was someone I was with for a couple years.
Okay.
And, I was very much, I think I was in love, or maybe
Right.
it was a in love situation. My high school sweetheart per se. How do I say this?
It's okay. Think about it.
So I shared, that I was expecting, and I didn't know until actually I was like 6 months. I didn't know. I wasn't showing. I was very athletic. I didn't have any
Wow.
symptoms. Best pregnancy ever.
So
No,
you didn't see your belly growing a
no
little
big
bit?
belly. Actually, I was 6 months when I found out, and my belly showed almost like maybe I was very skinny in high school.
Get close to the mic. Yeah.
I
So
was,
you
I
can
was
pull it back if you want, by the
okay.
way. Yeah.
I was very skinny in high school, and
Yeah.
so I just didn't have the weight. Just didn't take on when I was pregnant,
Okay.
and so I was 6 months thinking that I was maybe 3 months along, and and I'm feeling flutters and whatnot, baby
Yeah.
kicks and everything, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm having a boy because I'm at 3 months and they're
Yeah.
kicking. Supposedly boys start moving quicker than girls do, and so I shared with him the news, like, hey, I'm expecting. And he was very excited at that time. And I was the one that was like nervous, like, what the heck? Like, what are we going to do? Like, I'm about to graduate in a few months. Like,
Yeah.
What do you mean you're excited?
So you graduated pregnant?
Yeah.
Oh.
I actually, I've actually never shared this, but I dropped out of high school and got my GED. I ended up getting my GED before my classmates graduated high school. So,
Oh, okay. So you never walked?
I did not walk. I didn't have a graduation experience.
So why did you have to drop out?
I didn't have to. I could have stayed. I honestly don't remember what was the deciding factor for that. I think maybe it was just a little bit more convenient as far as the classes for the GED or the process for the GED versus going to school.
Okay. So it wasn't like you couldn't handle it?
No, it wasn't like I couldn't handle it.
Okay.
I think it was just more convenient.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did it all happen afterwards? When did like the disconnect come in, or when did you guys end things?
That's a good question. I feel like there was a disconnect.
Welcome to the podcast.
I know. So there was a bit of a disconnect because, of course, any household where your child is in high school and lets you know that they're pregnant, it's not like the best news ever, right?
Correct.
So my mom was not the best fan of that situation.
I was going to ask how she took it.
She did not take it well initially. She was not happy. And so because she was not happy about that, it kind of strained the relationship that I had with my mom at that time.
Right.
And it also strained the relationship that I had with him at that time because
with the homie.
Exactly, because, well, I don't know why, but it just did.
So you broke it off, he broke it off. How did it was mutually?
It was so long ago. It's such a blur, but I want to say that we separated for a while. Because I just remember, like, for my baby shower, I would have loved to, have a happy moment then. And, we didn't really experience that. It was almost kind of like pulling teeth to get him and his family to attend the baby shower. And even, while him being there, it wasn't the best energy.
Gotcha.
So I guess a lot of my postpartum depression had to do a lot with the experience of my pregnancy too.
Right.
And of course of what happened right after. I just didn't have a happy, this is a blessing experience.
Gotcha.
And so after Ayla was born, we stayed separated for a little bit. And I believe that it wasn't until she was a few months old that we reconnected and we said, okay, let's try again. And let's see what this family,
So you guys did try again?
We did.
Okay.
We did. We, did the, living together and stuff. And we ended up getting engaged at one point in time. And we were just young. We were just very young. It was very premature, I feel like.
Yeah.
And even though I knew this person for years, I just feel like we were both growing at a different rate.
Yeah.
And values were a little bit different.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so we separated after that. We ended up not getting engaged, but I did end up buying a wedding dress.
Oh no.
It was the most beautiful wedding dress.
Man.
I mean, because we were planning, well, I was taking over all the plans, but I wanted to have like a beach wedding. I
Yeah.
didn't want to have a big poofy wedding dress, just something very like sleek. So I kept it because I said, man, like maybe I could like do like tie dye or something and convert it into a dress I can wear regularly. I don't know. Or maybe to a formal event.
Yeah.
I really like the dress. So that's why I still have it. But no, we did not end up getting married. And I'm thankful. I hope he's, doing okay.
So he's not in your daughter's life?
No, actually, no.
How do you feel about that? And did you feel like you needed like his help at least financially, or maybe it was just better off that way for you?
I mean, I don't think it's ever better off if raising a child with just one parent, whether that's the mom or the dad.
Good.
I don't ever think that that's better. Wait, what was the question?
So do you feel like, did you miss like his financial help, or did you miss like maybe even the father figure being around like while Ayla is growing up, and some of the things, I guess it would have been much of an easier process for you to.
Yeah, it's much of an easier process because just think about it, being a single mom, you don't just financially have to be there
Right.
for bills, doctor's visits, the household, food, things like that. But you also have to be there emotionally for your child,
Mm-hmm.
A child goes through a lot of emotions. So it kind of sucks being the only parent in a sense, because my child sees me as, we have great moments, but I'm also the disciplinary in the household.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, in a sense, the bad parent, whereas when he was involved or when he did see her, it was more of I don't want to say like vacation from the day to day, but it was like they had great times because they would go out, do
Right.
things, but like he wouldn't be in the household like when we would have to do homework or like, or
The
when I
tough
was like
moments.
the tough moments where it's like, no, you can't play. It's got to go to bed. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to live with dad. I don't want to live here
Oh,
because you have rules. And it's like, well, wait a second.
I'm the one doing all the, yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and it's also tough because, your child, as they grow, they have questions, they notice things, they're very observant.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, why isn't my dad around? Like, what's going on with that? Why don't I see him often?
Yeah.
I want to talk to him. And for a while I made her call him, made her have a relationship with him and stuff. And I just started feeling like it was one-sided. He wouldn't really seek her out as much.
Dang.
So I just got to a point where I even communicated this with him and I said, hey, I'm no longer going to put the effort into either reminding her, forcing her to contact you to have a relationship. Like,
Right.
please, we're here. Our address has not changed. Number's not changed. Please seek her out at any point, because I don't want to raise my daughter to thinking that she needs to chase after her father for that
Right.
affection, for that love, for that acceptance.
That's deep.
And I don't want to subconsciously teach her that, hey, this is normal. Like, I have to chase after a man to receive love,
Right.
to receive affection, to receive attention.
Right.
So that's why I stopped. And I wish we could have a good co-parenting relationship. And
Yeah.
I've been praying for it. So maybe, hopefully, maybe in a few years, maybe we can. I don't know. Only God knows.
God knows.
But I would love to.
Dang. Well,
Did I answer the question?
no, yeah, you got into it. I appreciate that. I'm over here thinking, like, I can't imagine like how tough that just, being a single parent is, especially, you've had to get, you've had to play both roles, and that, playing one part, it's already hard enough, and doing both, and then you now have to, having to look out for her future and stuff. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's really nice. But everything now, you feel like things have changed and everything, you've gotten used to it.
I feel like I've definitely gotten used to it.
Yeah.
I'm used to being the single parent role. There's always changes in our schedules because I like to put her in extracurricular activities and things like
Good.
that. So sometimes we
Keep her busy.
yes, right? Because an idle mind is the devil's playground, right?
Okay, I like that. Okay, preacher, hold up.
No, I heard it somewhere.
Pastor Katherine in the house.
That's where people say that. It's a saying. But yeah, I've gotten used to it. I think that Ayla, now that she's older, she's grown to have an appreciation. I think she's now realizing, like, hey, my mom's like really taking care of like all of these
She's
things.
dope.
Yeah, she's dope. So I get my like pat on the back every once in a
Yeah.
while. And there are moments, like just small moments, that like for me, I just cherish them. Like last night we made dinner and Ayla not for dinner, but for lunch, she had the snack and she loves hot sauce. I'm not a spicy girl. Ayla loves hot sauce. And so we had this quesadilla that we ordered for lunch, and she kept the hot sauce in like a little to-go packet. And so when she was done with it, I was going to throw it away, but I was like, well, let me just save it. I'll put it in the fridge, like a little hot sauce thing. And so we go for dinner and she's looking for it because she's like, oh man, I forgot to save it. And so she opens the fridge and she realizes it's there. She's like, oh, Mommy, I love you. And I'm like, wait, what did I do? Cute. What did I do? And she's like, you know me so well. You remembered my hot sauce. You just saved the day. I'm like,
that's a W.
Yeah,
W
that's
mom.
A W.
That's a
like,
W.
Okay.
W mom. Wow.
That itself is worth it.
Wow. That's thank you for sharing that. You know, it's I feel like it's good to know what other people go through, especially like single. I know my mom was single with me for a while too. So, you know, I got to experience like the single side of things, and even her stepping up like on both plates. So I appreciate you sharing that, you know, to the world. So you told me that one of the reasons, I mean, well, it wasn't the reasons, but back in 2020, you started your real estate. Was it 2020 around the time?
2020 is when I started studying, I believe. And then 2021 is when I got licensed.
So when I first saw you on social media, I was like, yo, she's about that real estate life, you know? So we're going to transition into that. We're going to talk about it because I enjoy, especially with like the market and what's going on. Like, I feel like that's very important for people to stay updated. And you look like you're in the mix, man. So I definitely want to get into, I think you might be like the third person that I have that does something with like real estate. So, all right. So talk to me about the process. What made you get into real estate? And eventually we're going to share some data to the community, to the crowd. So, because you came prepared today.
I did. I tried to come with some value.
She came ready. No, I appreciate that. So what made you get into real estate? And what do you feel like have been some of the struggles, some of the good, the bad? And, you know, what, if you have any advice for people, that would be cool too. Like that once you get into real estate eventually, because I don't know if from the outside looking in that the market looks crazy, which it probably is, but I wonder if like there's still a lot of buyers or sellers that are, you know, still either selling a house or buying a house. Like, is that even crazy too, or no? Has it been in decline?
It actually hasn't been a decline. We've seen an increase in inventory right now.
People are selling then.
People are selling, yes. And we'll definitely get into the data in just a second.
All right.
But what got me into real estate, so before real estate, I used to work in orthopedics. I was an orthopedic medical assistant. So I loved it. I loved everything about orthopedics and seeing patients and healthcare. Okay. I loved it because it gave me a sense of like, okay, I'm helping this person through a journey, through their healing journey. And it made me happy seeing someone, you know, come in and, you know, they had a shoulder they couldn't move for 6 months. And then just seeing that journey to recuperation and using full range of motion for your shoulder or post-surgery, not post-surgery. You're changing someone's life, whether you know it or not, no matter how little or how big the surgery is. You know, you're helping someone. You're helping. And so in doing so, one of my patients actually became, I started dating he wasn't my patient, but we met because he was someone else's patient.
Wait, let me think about that. Run that back one more time.
Okay, wait. Okay, I'm not even explaining this right. Okay.
Rewind.
Okay.
Press play.
So in working in real estate, I connected with this gentleman who was a contractor, and he expressed his interest through one of my coworkers. I didn't see him, but we saw each other. This is leading to something. I'm just giving you a backstory.
No, cool. Do your thing, 21. Do your thing, 21.
Yeah. So anywho, I saw this guy sitting in a waiting room, and, you know, he was cute. And I was like, okay, what the heck? Like, you know, we keep making awkward eye contact. It's really weird. And I'm like, okay, whatever. He wasn't my patient. I didn't bring him back or anything. But one of my coworkers came and she was like, hey, this guy is asking if you're married, you know? Like, what? He's asking if I'm married. Like, what in the world is going on?
Hello?
Yeah.
Shoot your shot, you know?
Yeah. So I was single at the time. And so I was like, okay, well, let me just give this guy a shot. So long story short, we started dating, and throughout our dating experience, he was like, man, I think that you would be a really good real estate agent. I'm like, dude, you're crazy.
How about that?
You're freaking crazy. I've never owned a business.
Right.
I've never done sales. I don't like feeling like I'm selling someone something or like I'm, trying to convince someone to make a decision. I don't like that feeling. I don't like when it's, done to me, sales marketers, things like that.
Right.
Telemarketers, that's what I meant. And so, and he kept like saying like, no, I think you should definitely look into it. And finally I was like, okay, well, I'll look into it. I always loved real estate and I always thought that I would be an investor.
Okay.
I know that. So at this time I'd already purchased my first property and I knew when I purchased it, it was a fixer upper and I knew I wanted to renovate it and then convert it into a rental eventually.
Okay.
And then move on to my next home property and then continue doing that.
Right.
So I always saw myself having a large portfolio of rentals, Airbnbs, things like that, but I never thought I could have it as a career until that door opened. So I was like, okay. So I started studying. It was definitely a stressful process.
Dang.
I did the studying online, which I absolutely do not recommend. All of the agents that I asked for recommendations as far as schooling, they all said the same thing. Please, whatever you do not do the schooling online. Do it in person.
So go take classes.
Mm-hmm. But I was a single mom. I was working a full-time job, and I couldn't dedicate the hours needed to travel and go in person.
Right.
So I did it online. It took me much longer than, I guess that depends. But I had a good teacher, and I feel like I'm rambling.
No, you're good. So,
okay.
You were taking the classes online, and then I'm assuming you ended up passing the classes. And
I ended up passing.
Yeah. So how did you end up where you're at now? Because you do work for a company, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So talk to us about that process.
So I ended up passing. I passed the test on my first go, which is actually unique. A lot of people have to retake the test.
The person that came last time, she said she I think she felt there once or twice or something like that.
Yeah. And honestly, what's crazy about that is, so unfortunately, my partner that opened the door to real estate or even showed me that this could be a journey for me, he unfortunately passed away. And what's crazy about that is he passed away 2 days before my daughter's birthday.
Oh, no.
And that was also unexpected. And I took my test for my school and I already passed it, but I hadn't taken my state exam to actually get licensed yet. And I wasn't scheduled for that until the month following his passing.
So you mentioned that, I know when we talked a couple of days ago, you said that he died from like medical conditions, right? Except you just don't know what happened.
Yeah, it was unexpected. I don't feel comfortable speaking about that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a great guy. He was a great man. He showed up in my daughter's life in a way that I just never would have expected.
Right.
So I'm very thankful for that connection, for us meeting, and I feel like it was definitely for a divine purpose.
Because of him, you're here doing.
Because of him, now I'm in real estate.
Right.
And I do believe that there are good men out there.
Still. Hey, let's hope.
After that. Yes. So, so I got my license, and what's crazy is I did not think I was going to pass. I mean, I honestly, throughout the test, at the end of it, I was like, all right, well, this is the end of the test. Like, which paycheck am I going to use to retake it? What date am I going to come back? I'm like already thinking this before I leave my exam room.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking out. I'm like, I've got my head down. I'm like, yeah, she's going to tell me. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, what day am I going to come back? It's 150 for the test. Like, God dang it.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. But as soon as I walk out, I guess they print the exam, or at least that was my experience. And as soon as I walk out, she's like, congratulations, you passed. And I was like, who?
Let's go.
Me? So yeah, I was
little me.
Yeah. So I was excited. I was super excited. Got my real estate license, and I'm with Atlanta Communities now.
What is that? So what is Atlanta Communities?
Atlanta Communities is my brokerage. So each real estate agent is like their own business owner. So the way that the real estate experience, you may have one real estate agent, and you may have a great experience purchasing or selling real estate, and you may have a different agent that you may not have a great experience, but that's not the market. It's because each agent is their own individual business and they run things differently.
Definitely, gotcha.
So Atlanta Communities is a brokerage. So each real estate agent, they basically hang their license with a broker.
Okay.
And so there's just no other way. You can't have a license without having a managing broker.
Gotcha.
So I'm with Atlanta Communities. I love them.
So you were with them since you graduated? Like that's where you applied, or that's where you?
I actually started with Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're very well known.
So what happened?
So I love Berkshire Hathaway. They're very prestigious. They're very well known. I will say I had a great experience with them. They're a great brokerage. I felt like when I first started real estate, I needed something to like back me up because I'm new in real estate.
Yeah.
I need to have like something prestigious, backing my name. And I thought of Berkshire Hathaway. I was like, all right, they're really good. Everyone knows Warren Buffett,
Yeah.
And so that's why I started with Berkshire Hathaway. And I also wanted to be into the luxury field of real estate. That's where I wanted my niche to be, even, for the first.
So luxury, you mean like selling like $1 million houses type vibes?
Yeah,
Or? Okay, I feel you.
Okay,
Gotcha.
That's what I wanted to do, especially working with doctors, seeing homes like that and things like that. And I was like, man, like, all right, I've worked with doctors on the healthcare side of things. I can work with, type A personalities, purchasing homes, selling properties, things like that. So I was like, all right, I could do this. And so my first real estate sale was actually luxury, which is crazy.
Oh, dang. Can you talk to us about the numbers on that? Like if you're not.
Okay.
So wait. So okay, I'm interested in that. Wait. So how much was the house sold for? What did you get out of the house? Like, is there a percentage? I always hear 3%, but I don't know if that's actually true all the time or not. But is it 3%? Or
so typically speaking, each agent will typically make 3% of the purchase price. If you're representing a seller, typically you'll charge a seller 6% is what's normal. Is 6%, and an agent doesn't take home 6%. So what happens is from that 6%, 3% of that typically goes to the agent that's representing the seller, which is the listing agent.
Oh.
And then typically the other 3% will go to the buyer's agent.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it came from one transaction, but it got split into two. Okay. So talk to us. How much was the first house that you sold for?
So the first home that I sold was in Beaufort.
So around here, about 15 minutes from here.
Yeah,
okay.
In Summer Haven. That was my first neighborhood that I sold in, and the home was listed for $600,000.
Okay.
I was representing a retired real estate broker. So he had a network of agents that he knew. I met him actually at a picnic at a park. And I just happened to let him know, like, hey, I'm new in real estate. Like, I'd love to do a market analysis, no obligation. I'll let you know what your value is. And I was not expecting to get a listing out of it. I just wanted to provide a service and let him know where he's at. And, he was just very impressed with what I presented, the numbers and everything. He had a ton of equity in his home. And he was like, man, I know you haven't sold any real estate because, when he said he wanted to list with me, I was like, well, I just want you to know, like, hey, this is my first rodeo. Like, I've got a team of agents.
You're about to go on a ride right now.
Yeah, but I've got a team of agents that I ask questions to. They triple, double check everything. So you're in good hands, but I just want you to know, like, you're a retired real estate broker. I'm sure you know other agents.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I trust you. I like your energy. Let's do this. And I was like, all right, cool. And we kind of, I don't want to say argued, but like we were not on the same page as to what we should list the house for.
Ooh.
I felt like he was on the higher end of what we should have listed it for because I always tell sellers there's a pricing strategy when listing a home. You can go below market value. And so that typically incites like a bidding war. If a lot of buyers will see that like, whoa, this house is at this price. It should be much higher. I want to see it. And that usually incites a bidding war. What another strategy would be to list at the market value.
Okay.
So right at what you think the house is valued at. And the third would be your crazy number. whatever number it is that you want. It might be too high, but just know the market is going to determine whether that's a good price and that's a fair price. And so if you do not get activity within the first week, that probably means the market is rejecting that price.
Gotcha.
So you're probably way too high. And that's where I thought we were, because we were listing around this time. So it's the holidays, which means not as many buyers are out buying, you know, in the holidays and things. But the good side of that is it narrows down the serious buyers versus those that just like to look.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So
that's important to know. Yeah.
So I said, hey, you know, I think that we need to list a little bit lower, you know, like about 10,000 lower. And that would be a much better situation.
Wait, so you're telling me that 5 or 10,000 makes a big difference when it comes to just a $600,000 house?
Yeah, it does.
Dang.
It does.
So what is the importance of actually, like, well, I think you went through it, like, so there is an importance of an actual number that you can list a house, or you should list a house.
I'll actually give you an example. So
go ahead, talk to me, girl.
So this was when interest rates were at 2%. Definitely a seller's market. We are currently in a buyer's market. So we probably will not see this happen again for a very long time. But this was my experience. This was a house that was priced below market value.
2%.
That agent knew exactly what she was doing. Below market value, a home in Alpharetta. It was a ranch on a basement.
A ranch on a basement? What does that mean?
So a 1-story home, but it also has a basement.
That's what it's called? A ranch on a basement?
Well, that's what I don't know. That's what I call it.
That's cool. I mean, hey, I don't know.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah. So 1 story is considered a ranch.
Oh, how about that? I thought it was an actual ranch and then it had a basement.
No, ranchero, no.
Yeah.
No, it's a little bit different. And so it was priced under market value, and I was representing 2 different investors on this one house. And so they were both, of course, when you think of investor, usually they're coming with a cash offer. So one, we went 35,000 above asking.
Okay.
And then the other one we went, I want to say maybe it was a little bit less, maybe 20 over asking.
Okay.
And we both got outbid. This home ended up selling for $75,000 above asking.
Dang. The original asking price.
Than the original asking price.
Wow.
And it was listed below market value. And what happened? A ton of buyers saw it, a ton of investors saw it, and they're like, whoa, I see value in this house. I need this house. It's a great location,
right,
etc. And they were willing to, you know.
And the $75,000 made it go over the market value.
Yeah,
right.
They bid. So let's say the home was listed for $350.
Right.
And they bid $75,000 over the $350.
Damn, son.
And I was thinking, like, you know, we had short due diligence days, so those are days that we have to back out of the contract. It was a cash offer, so you would think, you know,
yeah, straight up cash, you get the money right away.
So in the case of my first listing, we did not agree on the purchase price, but I said, hey, you're my client. We will list it at whatever you want under one condition. If in a week we don't have activity,
we lower the price.
We lower the price.
Okay.
And so I believe, I believe that the house sat for about 14 days and it went under contract right before Christmas. And it closed on the 30th, like within my first 3 or 6 months of being a licensed real estate agent. And we got the asking price with no closing costs.
Okay, so explain that to me real quick because that just lost me. So this is funny. Wait, so you listed it at what he said to list it? 600,000, and you guys listed it, and that's what it sold for.
That's what it sold for.
Okay, so obviously that's great, right?
Oh, it's great, yeah.
So what do you mean by no closing costs? Like, because usually you have to pay for the closing costs, right? Like the seller?
No, yes,
or they
and no.
ask. You can ask for it.
Yes. So typically speaking, your buyer will pay for their own closing costs. Now, when it's a seller's market, it's not smart to ask the seller to pay anything towards closing because you know there's a lot of other buyers interested in the same home.
Gotcha.
It just wouldn't be
so you have
competitive.
leverage.
Exactly.
Okay.
But we're in a market where a lot of buyers have leverage now. So now you can ask for seller paid closing costs.
Wait, so how long of a process was this? So you said that Since you got your real estate license, how long did it take you to sell that house, that first one?
I was licensed for 6 months.
Okay, so it took you 6 months for...
It didn't take 6 months to sell it, but the time span of 6 months between, and mind you, that wasn't my first closing. My first closing was 3 months after being licensed.
Okay.
And I just represented someone purchasing land.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay, so you already had a little bit...
I had my first closing, so I felt like I had a grip of the paperwork and the process, but real estate, each deal is different.
Gotcha.
Each transaction is different. Each family is different. So even though I had experience selling land, those documents were completely different than selling a single family house.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep going then. So what happened after? So you sold for 600,000.
Yes.
W in the chat.
Yes.
What's hold out? 600,000 is like 0.3. I'm just. I don't even know how much that is, to be honest. Well, $18,000.
Oh, he doesn't know what that is. So you did the math.
I mean, just a master in economics. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
What would I know about
You're
that?
correct. Yes, 18,000.
Dang.
But a lot of people see those numbers and they're like, man, real estate agents are balling.
And I know you're gonna get to a point real quick, but so $18,000. How do you get that? Do you receive that in a check or like direct deposit? How does that work?
You have an option.
So you have both.
You have an option. It could be a check if you want it to be a check. If you're smart, it'd be a direct deposit.
So how long after you submit the papers and like you sell something, like when the contract's over, how long do you receive your paycheck in?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Of course.
So we close on the property. Nothing is said and done until the closing date. Everyone has signed their paperwork and everything. Everyone has a copy of everything. So it really depends on your brokerage.
Okay.
Depending on how fast. I remember when I was with Berkshire Hathaway, it took me a little bit longer to receive pay than with Atlanta Communities.
Okay.
And by longer, I mean from the date that we closed on the house, we left the attorney's office, clients got their keys in hand, everyone's moved out or moved in. And it also depends on the date that you close.
Oh, okay.
So like if you close on a Wednesday, because from the percentage, the check goes to your brokerage. There is a percentage that your brokerage collects from that transaction. And then whatever's left after the fees and everything, that's what the agent receives.
Okay.
And so to process all of that with Berkshire Hathaway, their process is that the check is in their name. They, take out all the fees, they're split, and then they direct deposit or provide a check to the agent. So sometimes if you close on a Wednesday, you may receive pay on a Friday, whereas if you close on a Thursday, Friday, you may not receive pay until Monday, Tuesday of the following week.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't take that long, though.
It doesn't take that long.
I thought you say like 2 weeks or something. Or...
No, but what made me, or I don't know if I should say, like, oh, what should I say?
Well, yeah. Say it what you're comfortable with. We don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah. So I closed
I love your facial expressions, by the way.
I closed a transaction with an Atlanta Communities agent. And so, of course, sometimes after everything is said and done, depending on how well or how bad the transaction is, sometimes our agents will go and celebrate, like the one that represented the buyer, one represented the seller. We'll celebrate and grab a drink, whatever.
Of course.
And so we did.
After 18 stacks.
Yeah. And so in doing so, when we went to celebrate, I still had not received payment for that transaction yet. And I think there was some error, something happened, I don't remember. But I remember venting to her about that. And she was like, what, girl? I received my paycheck before I left the attorney's office. And I was like, what? I'm like,
dang.
I was like, that's unheard of.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's super crazy. So I was like, whoa, like maybe let me just look into
They probably have
things.
like money. I mean, maybe they're comfortable with willing over giving money because they know that it's going to have, the money's coming back anyway.
I think the process is different for them. And don't quote me on this, but I think that the process is different because the attorneys know to cut two separate checks. And so the agent can go ahead and walk away with their direct deposit or check separately. And then the other portion is already split and given to the brokerage.
Dang. So what did you do with the first paycheck that you received from selling your first home?
Oh my gosh. What did I do? I don't remember. I honestly, so I'm really bad at celebrating my like wins as little or as big as they are. I don't know why. I plan on doing better on that next year.
I
I
got
don't
you. I'll make
remember
sure we
doing.
turn up.
I don't remember doing anything crazy special or anything. And I think it's also my single mom mindset that I feel like I always have to save up for, I don't.
Emergencies, anything with
Yeah,
daughter.
I
Right.
don't like to do heavy, explosions. No, excursions.
Splurging?
Splurging, and I was trying to
Excursions?
merging with excursions.
Splurgings. That's a new
La, la,
word.
la.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. We have a new word added to the dictionary.
Oh my
But you
gosh.
mean just splurge, right?
Mhm,
Yeah, just to go out and ball out.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I feel you. Hey, well, thought you would have said about a car. You know?
Oh no, I've still got my Kia.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, got you. That's cool. That was your first experience with selling a house. Do you keep count of how many houses you sold? I'm sure it's not that hard to keep count.
It's not because you have apps that can keep track of it. I
Oh.
personally have not,
Kept track of it.
kept track of it or looked at it. But I will say, I think it's very important as a new real estate agent to make sure that you surround yourself and get a mentor.
Okay.
I think that's one of the things that I wish I would have done is to interview and select a good mentor. Because that's someone that you can go to with questions when your broker is not available or when you feel like you don't want to bother your broker. It's someone that you can also like
Give you some guidance.
give you some guidance and stuff. And this is, especially new business owners, new people in real estate. It's great to see how this person, runs their day to day versus another person.
Right.
And that's very important. Because if not, then you'll kind of end up where I did, where, I spoke with agents about things, but it wasn't like positive reinforcement. So when I had that first listing and I shared, because I needed help, and I was also like, oh my gosh, I cannot mess this up. This is my first listing. Like I need everything to be
perfect.
And I just remember I shared that with an agent who's been in the business for years. And she was like, all right, Kat, well, just don't get too excited because this is not normal for a new real estate agent to list a house at $600,000. So congratulations, but just know that this is the exception and the rule is going to be that you're not going to,
And how true was that?
So my next listing was 525.
Dang. So hold on. Let's keep adding the math. Let's keep counting that. You made somebody's salary in two, what were you calling, two listings?
I doubled my income from working in orthopedics by the time that I ended the year. So in 6 months.
Dang, bro.
What I would have made if I stayed versus
full time at the orthopedics office.
Versus real estate.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. Look at you. You came out here. Hey, okay. No, hold up. We just getting started, bro. This is so my friend, I told you that Adri, she's a loan officer. So is there a difference into choosing a loan officer? Is it better? What's not? Like, what's the difference between choosing a loan officer than somebody else? Like, there's a difference between choosing real estate agents. I'm assuming does that apply to a loan officer as well?
Yeah.
And why is that? Like, what makes a difference? Like, in a loan officer that you feel like you worked for?
So that's also a really good question. These are really good questions. So yes, and yes. Loan officers, it's different because you may find a loan officer that is a lender that when you place an application, it will only go to that specific mortgage company. They will let you know what programs they have available. But let's say that you apply with a mortgage broker. It's a little bit different because that one application, this mortgage broker can then send out to multiple mortgage companies that may have different programs, whereas one may not have a first-time homebuyer program or a zero payment program. So it makes a difference. So that's why it's so important, or you hear a lot of agents say, hey, even though you like your rate, get a second opinion from another lender, get 3 to make sure, because what you hear from one lender may be better or worse than a different one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Nah, that's actually pretty interesting.
That actually leads me into something.
All right. Let's hear it.
So we have a mutual friend. He's also one of my preferred lenders.
You can shout him out.
Jamai.
Shout out to Jamai. What's up, baby?
Jamai
Long time
Davidson.
homie.
And he's a great mortgage lender.
Jamai, I love you, bro.
He's a broker. And He's just great. I just know every time I've recommended him to one of my clients, I mean, they literally call me and they're like, Katherine, thank you so much for connecting us, because I don't know what I would have done if it was someone else. And I say that because just like real estate agents handle business differently, just like a client may come to me stressed about something and I may handle it in a very good or bad way, another agent, it's different. Yeah. So he's just really good at calming nerves. He's also a God-fearing man. So a lot of times he will pray over the transaction. We'll pray together. Or, clients are, stressed out about things and they're like, hey, and he just has a calming, nurturing energy about him that it's like, even if my client needs to turn in 50 pages of bank statements tomorrow, it's like, I feel like I can do this because I spoke with Jemai and he spoke life into this deal and into my situation. And like, I'm calm.
Wow.
So speaking of which, he's also made me aware of a new program here in Atlanta that I don't hear a lot of lenders talking about.
Okay.
And this is a new program that's currently active. And what it offers is the following. So it offers $5,000 towards closing costs for the buyer, which is great.
Ooh.
That's great. However, this is even better, and it's not heard of as much with programs, is they're also offering $500 towards an appraisal.
Okay.
$500 towards a home warranty. They are also offering up to 5% in seller paid closing costs. So, or not offering that, but in this contract, they could only have up to 5% in seller paid closing costs to qualify. And of course, their loan to value has to be 97%, which means they would have to put down the 3%.
3%.
Mm-hmm. And then what you need to be eligible for the program is a minimum of a 620 credit score. You have to be a first-time home buyer.
Okay. Here we go. I qualify right now. Go ahead. Keep going.
There we go. And you have to be moving into Atlanta or the surrounding area. And so what does the surrounding area mean? Loganville is included in that surrounding area.
What about us here?
Snellville is included. So it has to be like a specific distance from Atlanta.
Okay. And because they're similar areas.
Yeah. So in hindsight, what this means is that you can potentially buy a house in Atlanta with no money coming out of pocket, which is amazing.
Wow.
And it makes it so much more affordable.
Are those like the three major things you need to qualify?
Yeah.
What you mentioned?
Mm-hmm. 620 credit score, be a first-time home buyer, and you have to be moving into Atlanta or the surrounding areas.
So how do people find that information? Do they need to contact you? Or
yes.
Okay.
Definitely contact me for more information about that program. I can get you in contact with Jemai Davidson. He is with Kadash Lending Group.
Okay.
And it's there are programs out here to make home buying still affordable.
That's kind of fire, actually. I didn't know that. See, but this is why we need people like you. You're in the game. You're in the mix for sure.
Yeah. And I bought a house when interest rates were around the same percentage that they're at right now.
Okay. So what made you decide to buy a house now and then not before?
Because I was a single mom and I knew, like, I don't know what, like, put the fire under my butt. And I was like, I want to be a homeowner and I'm going to work hard for it. And I got to do it now. And so I worked my tail off and I just knew, I was like, I have to do this now because I know the trend is that values of homes continue to go up year by year. Even if that's as little as 2%, I know I need to get my ducks in a row so I can afford something now.
Right. Because
compared to what I would be able to afford in the next few years, it'd be a lot less of a house if, prices go up.
So do you feel like, so obviously we don't know, and I've heard of a lot of jokes because technically I'm an economist, right? I graduated as an economist. Oh. So, but there's a joke that goes around that economists are just like politicians because you just guess, there's a lot of theories going around. And if you're wrong, it's like, well, you can't control behavior. You know what I mean? Politicians, if they're wrong, they're right. It's like, whatever. Mm-hmm. So how do you feel like the market will transition in the next few years? Do you believe it will actually go down? I personally don't believe that it'll go down to what it used to be, but how low do you think it will go down? Maybe you believe otherwise, but I don't know. What do you think about the process and maybe the interest rates that are coming? What do you think that will look like from your end? Because obviously you're what I like to call in the mix all the time. So I'm just looking from the outside in and seeing what's on the news and shit.
Okay. Well, I like that question. A lot of variables, right? So a lot of different data comes in with interest rates. Like right now, they're saying that they are done increasing the interest rates. They should not increase them, not until supposedly they're not going to be increased in the first quarter of next year either.
Okay.
So what the interest rates are right now, we should see that steady into the first quarter of next year. But again, we can never predict any of these things because let's say COVID Gorilla 19 comes out in 2024, that's going to negatively or not positively affect interest rates. So interest rates might go back down significantly if something big happens. We wouldn't want it to happen, but those are the variables that will change the interest rate. Now, if you go and pull like data from like realtor.com, they're like, yeah, we predict in 2024 home pricing is supposed to be going down, you know. I'm like,
based on what?
Based on what, you know? And it's like, they kind of benefit from putting out data like that because that motivates, you know, the buyers to say like, oh, okay, wait a second, I might need to buy next year, you know, if they're down. You know, so it's kind of you're inciting things to happen by predicting that, but really that prediction isn't signed in stone or.
So, Katherine, quick personal question. And, well, actually, it's a personal question from me to you. So it's not for you to, it's for me to you. So, let's say, right, obviously right now I still live with my parents because house market is crazy right now. And the way I look at it is this way. And if you feel like, you know, maybe I need to be having a different outlook of things, you let me know. So if I was making what I was you know, what I'm making now 10 years ago, I'll be buying a big ass house. You know what I'm saying? Like for real. Like, but now, you know, whether it's saving 25,000, 50,000, or even 100,000 to like purchase a home, I feel like even that doesn't make a huge difference in your payments. Like what if, you know, you pay an extra $20,000 where you're going to pay like $100, $200 less. Like, I feel like saving so much money is not really important, but giving you what I've given you right now, what do you think would be best for me to do if I were to buy a home, or maybe what price I will look into, maybe what I'll be qualified for, things along those lines. What do you think? Like if I came to you as someone who's interested in buying a house, what would that look like? I have a lot of friends actually around the same, how do I call this? Like economic status. I don't know how to call it, but you know, we're almost making the same amount of money, and we're also in like around the same age that some of us still live with our parents because first of all, we're not married. So it's not like we need a house. And if you can live with your parents still while you can save up money or, you know, take care of the things you need to do, then it's just a smarter decision. I think you know, if you have pride, then you're definitely going to buy a house because, you know, you don't want to, but, you know, I love my family. But anyway, so what do you think that I would, what would you recommend? What do you think by just giving you this data? And you can ask me too, questions so I can, you know, so you can get.
So one, I just want to say I think it's super smart that you are here with your parents, and
thank you.
I think it's so much smarter than the alternative of renting a place and having, you know, your own home, whether that's a 1-bedroom or a single family house.
Right.
It's always smarter if you know that you're going to want to purchase a home eventually to live with your parents and kind of either help them out while you're saving or save if they allow you to. So I definitely think that that's smart. As in terms of savings, I would say that it's a good idea to have a good savings account, not because necessarily you'll put $20,000 down on a house, but when a lender or the bank is looking at your assets, it gives a safer, and you're someone that they would lend more easily, more reliable, more stable with a 20,000, 25,000, 15,000 in the bank versus you have 5,000, you're going to, you know, pay 3,000 down, and, you know, then they're like, okay, well, if you have that savings account, it kind of gives them a mortgage company more of an assurance, like, hey, this person saves a lot. They're going to be able to pay their mortgage payment each month. And I mean, I remember when I saved, my goal was to save 28,000 after I paid off my car, and I got impatient. I did save up 20, and I did this because I did not because I was going to put a lot down, but because I knew where I was. I was a single mom. My
Right.
credit was not the best. My income was not the best. I think I was at that time, I was making maybe 30,000, probably less
Mhm.
a year. And what the heck was I saying?
Yeah, so you're talking about the like the pricing and
Oh, okay.
the down payment.
Yes. So I had that in the bank, and I remember I only put down 3,000 for my down payment.
Oh, that was low.
That was super low. Yeah.
And that was recent.
That was recent. But I knew that I was buying a fixer upper.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
it wasn't recent. It's been 5 years.
Okay, go ahead.
But I knew I was buying a fixer upper, so I wanted to have money in the bank for renovations. That's expensive. Furniture, things like that, that's expensive.
Okay.
So you want to think about those things when you go into buying a house.
Right.
Or, I mean, if you're cool with it, I mean, you know, empty house.
I think because the math, when I think about it, doesn't math. You know, the math ain't mathing kind of deal. Because let's say I'll save up 25. Let's say, okay, so the houses that I've been looking at have been around 400,000, 500,000. Ideally 500 because I want more of a modern house.
Mm-hmm.
I like things to be modern. I don't like old stuff. I didn't think nobody does, but some people like antique stuff, and I don't even like that. I like the modern stuff. Like you like it to be modern, right?
Okay.
So when I look at a $500,000 house, it feels like it provides that 550 going into the 600s. And let's say I put down like 3%, or like I'm assuming that new buyers have like an advantage too. Like
depends on the program that you're qualified for.
right. So I'm like, if I put $25,000 or $50,000 in a house, that $25,000 won't make like the biggest difference in the long run. So I'm like, do I really even need to save that much? But now that you gave me the point of like, if you do have equity and they see that you do have money in your account,
It's safer
they're
to
willing
approve
to
you.
yeah, double you. Actually, I didn't think about that too much.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I have you here, girl.
Yeah.
What's up? No, what's up?
Yeah.
Okay, so I ran out of questions to ask you when it comes to that because now I have. But is there
So
anything?
let's talk about affordability.
Okay.
And that's when I'm going to whip out these
Because
cards.
I was wondering what else I could ask you when it comes to that, but I have like you've answered all the questions. This is really good. Now I'm more informed.
So now we're going to go over some market
So
trends.
you have some market trends. You have some data for us that you'd like to share. So do your thing.
This data is brought to you by List Reports.
All right.
And so we
I like that. I love the way you said that.
partnered with Katherine Del Rosario, KDR Investors LLC.
Okay, gang.
gang. Okay, so I want to compare Buford and Cumming as far as the market right now.
Okay.
When we think about Buford and affordability, the median sales price, which means the number right between the highest and the lowest, or in the middle of all of the homes being sold, from 10 million to down to like 50,000. The median price for homes in Buford is $622,000. That's the median price in Buford. So that's probably what you're going to see. So right now we've got 244 homes active in the market in Buford, 244 homes that are for sale, that are not under contract.
And when you say active, is this just part of your company active or like just across the board?
Across the board in Buford with different brokerages, different agents. There's a total of 244 as of the Tuesday, December 5th.
Okay.
Okay. And then when we look at the average days on market for Buford, it looks like we have about 52 days, average days on market for Buford. That's how long it takes a home from the time that it's active to the time that it closes. It's on the market.
Gotcha. Yeah, get into the mic.
And okay. And as far as new listings in Buford, there are 15 new listings as of the last 5 days.
Okay. So there is some listings happening in the area.
Yes. So they've got 15 new ones. So let's compare that to Cumming. So the median sales price goes up to $650,000.
So 30,000 higher than
Buford. Mm-hmm. Now they've got over 100 more new listings or active listings in Cumming. So that's 383 active currently in Cumming.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because we're seeing a lot of new construction in Cumming, whereas Buford, I feel like the most of their new construction was 2 years ago. And I feel like they're not building as much in Buford. I feel like they've maxed out the capacity of building new houses here in Buford.
Ooh.
But in Cumming, they're still doing a lot of new building.
Okay.
And so with that being said, there are 27 new listings in Cumming as of 5 days ago.
Okay. So they are active.
They are active. And again, so their average days on market's 47. So a little bit less than in Buford. They move a little quicker.
Okay.
As far as how long it takes a property to close.
So how long does it take it close to incoming?
So the average days on market. So again, days on market mean how long it's been from the time we put it up for sale to the time it goes under contract and closes to the date that it closes.
So what's the average for coming?
Cumming is 47.
Okay.
And Buford is 52.
Okay. Got you. So it's 5 days less.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just moving a little quicker in Cumming.
That's a week, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if we look at Snellville.
Snell Vegas. Shout out to Snell Vegas. What's up?
Where everybody's somebody.
Where everybody's somebody. Snell Vegas.
Yeah.
GG's.
And so we're looking at the median sales price is $391,000.
Okay.
And we've got 164 active homes right now. The average days on market's 46. And then out of those, we've got 14 new listings last 5 days.
Okay.
In Snellville.
So not bad.
Not bad. Very affordable.
Okay.
Comparing it to Buford and Cumming.
Close to 400, not bad.
Yep. And then if we look at Lawrenceville is a larger city.
Shout out to Lawrenceville too. What's up?
A large city. So they have the median sales price is $419,900. So 420,000 is their median sales price. And then they've got 485 active homes currently.
You said 485?
485 currently for sale.
Gotcha.
So that's a lot.
But
Lawrenceville is huge.
Yeah.
So out of those, the average days on market is 53 days, so a little bit longer than Snellville. And then out of those, they've got 32 new listings as of.
So they're putting out 2.
Mm-hmm.
Dang. You know what I'm thinking about now that you're just going through all these numbers? I'm like, we should have like a market update. You come here and we just talk about market updates. That'll be fun.
Don't get me started. I'll bring a graph out and everything.
Hey, what's up, Dave?
Presentation.
Listen, I've always told people who want to be content creators, I was like, if you do real estate content, it's just people love it. You know, people want to know, especially with the market that's going on. People would still want to hear like what's going on and like what's up. So that's really important. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, and so so we talked about Buford, Cumming, Snellville, Lawrenceville. So I brought some data about Decula and Loganville. So shout out Decula, Loganville. So for Decula, their median sales price that we're looking at right now is $477,000.
Okay.
Out of that price point, they've got 214 active homes.
Okay.
Their average days on market's 48 days.
Okay.
From the time it's listed to the time it closes.
All right.
And then out of that number, out of 214, 14 of those are new as of the last 5 days.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
Okay, we're not doing too bad out here.
Not doing bad in Decula. Not doing bad. And Loganville, the numbers are kind of close. Loganville's median sales price is $463,845. So 464 basically if we round up, 464,000.
Okay. 464,000. Yeah.
But what's different about Loganville and Decula when you compare it, I feel like you get a lot more bang for your buck in Loganville than you do in Decula.
Why is that?
For those that love a home with a lot of space so that you're not spitting into your neighbor's backyard,
right?
Loganville will be more of the place to search for that than Decula. You may find a house in Loganville and all of the neighbors are half an acre away.
Yeah. I feel like Decula had its moment several years ago, to be honest.
Decula more so close to Auburn.
You know what you could do actually even next time if you were to come and we can talk about market updates and stuff. If you were to bring like the data on like the age of the house, like how old new constructions and stuff, like that's important for people to hear. I know that would be important to me because I'll be interested more in like, if something's 460 or something, but if it's newer, it's, you get me? Yeah. You actually want to put a note?
Yeah. So to speak on that, if you're looking at a new construction home and you're thinking about affordability and what you get for the price, you're probably going to get more affordability and more knick-knack paddywhacks in Loganville with new construction than you would in Decula with new construction.
Because of the same reasons you mentioned.
And then also some of Loganville, if not most of it, is in Walton County.
Okay.
Instead of Gwinnett, which also means your taxes are lower.
Oh,
which is more affordable too.
Snap. Taxes like
property taxes.
Property taxes. Oh. So what you're saying is I might be moving to Loganville.
Walnut Grove is definitely a place to look into. And so Conyers.
Wait, is that a nice place or something?
I that's where I sold the home for $525 in Loganville.
Oh,
lots of land. So I sold that one $525 in Loganville, and it was I want to say, I don't remember how many bedrooms. I want to say maybe like 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it was on an unfinished basement. And it sold for.
That's what I need, bro. I want a basement. I want a man cave.
Yeah. So it sold for $525, right?
Yeah.
But it was on point, so a little bit over half an acre.
Okay.
And that's how all of the homes in this neighborhood were. And then if we compare it to the home I sold for $600,000 in Buford, that's 0.3 acreage. So it's like you're literally having a very small yard. And it was also a 6-bedroom, 4.5 bath on an unfinished basement. So, and honestly, even just down to the build, it's very similar in the way that it was built.
Right.
Floor plans completely different, but as far as the quality of the build, they were neck and neck. You would probably think it's the same builder.
Okay.
And so you get a lot more in Loganville. And it's so funny, that house, I actually sold it. I'm going to just toot my own horn for a second.
Do your thing.
So that home, I actually relisted that property after a previous agent could not sell it, and it actually expired. And so I connected with the family and I said, hey, do you want to know why your home didn't sell the first time? I gave them some tips. That house expired at $499,000. So the agent couldn't sell it at $499,000. I came in, sold it at $525,000.
No shot.
I'm not even.
Wait, so what'd you do? What was the...
So one of the main things is marketing, right? And how you showcase the property. So professional
basically
pictures.
Selling
the heck out of it. I always go back to the saying, like when you're selling shoes, right?
Yeah.
You could have a nice pair of Nikes that's been sitting in your closet for forever, but it's got a little bit of dust on it. You don't feel like cleaning the dust. You sell it and they're like, you want $100 for it. But the guy looks at it, is like, oh, it's so dusty. Like, I don't want to pay. I'm going to give you $50. Versus if you shine that mug, you make sure it's in a nice presentable box, and then you present it and you want $100. They're like, okay, I'll give you $100. Maybe I might even give you $150 for it.
Because they look clean.
Yeah, they look clean.
Oh, so presentation of the house, the way even you present it and the way you sell it to the buyers is what made a difference. What did you mean by expired, by the way? Like, I didn't get that term. So you said it expired. Yeah, I didn't get that term.
So expired means that it was listed for the market.
Okay.
It was listed for sale. And whenever you list a property for sale, you speak to the seller and you agree on a time period that you're going to list it for sale. Oh. Typically, you may say 3 months. Give me 3 months and I'll sell this for you.
And they never did.
And if they don't sell it, then it would expire and it's no longer active. It's no longer active. It's no longer for sale. And then let's say that the seller's like, man, I just don't believe in you anymore. I don't even want to continue to list it again. Right. Or they're like, you know what? I didn't like this experience. I don't even want people in my house anymore. Let's just give up for right now. We'll rehash this next year. And so that's what causes an expire.
But even going back to the sellers, even convincing them to like relist again, I think that's a process too. You got to have some people skills, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can tell you got a little flow in you.
Stop.
Okay.
Why is he so? Anyways.
Gassing you up. What you mean? Stating facts. No printer.
There we go. Oh, facts, no printer. I like that. But yeah, it took some convincing for sure because they didn't have the best experience with their original agent. What's funny is I feel like, so I'm Christian, and what's crazy is the way that I was, like the first few houses that I represented, the first few families that I represented, I really feel like it was all like aligned by God. Like there's just no other way. Okay. Because again,
shout out Jesus.
Shout out Jesus. Because again, I was grieving, I met someone that was, in other words, like I thought this guy was like the one, and losing that, it was very sad. And
Right.
so I felt like I was kind of like working to like make him proud and like, kind of like
You're
continue
representing
the
somebody,
promise.
honoring him. Right.
Exactly.
That's a
Honoring
good
him,
word.
keeping
Right.
the promise that,
Yeah.
the plans that we made.
Right.
And so this family actually had a recent loss and they lost a family member.
Man.
And so they lost the family member through the process of listing their house the first time with another agent. And I just remember one of the things that they shared with me is that they didn't feel the compassion. They didn't feel like the agent really cared. They were like, hey, sign these documents. Like, I know you just lost someone, but hey, let's sell this house, And they're like, wait a second, what the heck?
Dang.
So it was very just God ordained the way that we connected because I was, with real estate, you do what's called cold calling. So you call a bunch of numbers, you get a bunch of no's, you get some yeses, some appointments, and that's how you start drumming up business.
So when it comes to cold calling, so I'm assuming you get leads from your business, or you just how do you get the numbers? How do you go about the process of cold calling when it comes to real estate?
You are a business owner. You got to market.
Listen to me, my girl. We are. What's up?
You got to start marketing yourself. You have to start presenting how you're a value to people. You're basically introducing yourself to strangers in a sense.
Yeah.
And so, no, they weren't leads.
They weren't given to you.
No.
That's you looking.
That's me looking. And what's so crazy is that when I first started real estate, everyone's like, Kat, slow down. Like, slow down. You're going to get a closing eventually. But like, you need to first, like, you have a lot to learn. Schooling is one thing, but putting it into practice is different. And so I'm like, man, I'm a single mom. I got bills.
I gotta get the chicken.
I gotta get the chicken right now. And so, I was so like dedicated, passionate. I did my calls. I wouldn't, if someone said no, I'd take it as a no, but I wasn't taking a no as defeat,
Got you.
And so that's how I connected. I actually almost was going to hang up. I almost was not going to call this family. And I was feeling, I don't know. And then I felt like a breeze or something. And I was like, let me not hang up. I was already mid-call and I was almost going to hang up. I was like, they're not going to answer. Let me just give it a break. That was my last call of the day. And before I hung up, I was like, something told me like, don't hang up. I didn't. They answered and we started talking. And I was like, hey.
Man, the whole process. Yo, I wish I could hear yourself. You got to record yourself, see how you sell yourself. Like, that would be cool.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but no, we're not going to do that now.
I'm so bad at like, if I record myself.
What's your intro line? Hello,
okay, so it depends. It depends, actually. What's so crazy?
Like your go-to?
I don't have an intro line and I don't have like a script or a line that I use. It honestly is.
Natural.
No.
Wow.
Colgate.
Caucasian.
Anyways, no, but it just depends. It depends on why I'm calling the person, right? So I have a list. Sometimes I call withdrawn properties, which means the person had it for sale, but then they decided to take it off of the market. That's what withdrawn means. And then expired means they tried to sell it, couldn't sell it.
So how do you, my question is, how do you even know that happened? Where did you go to look at that? Is there a website or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So similar to Zillow, where Zillow gets their information is the website that real estate agents use.
Oh, okay. Got you.
So Zillow is typically a little bit behind, like by a couple days as far as like what they have on there. And so what we use here in Georgia is what's called FMLS and Georgia MLS. And that's where all of the properties go that are listed for sale.
Okay. And that's where you just look around and just...
And that's where I look around. And sometimes I won't call a withdrawn or expired. Sometimes I do some research. And I feel like part of real estate agents' jobs are like FBI agents. Yeah, because
gotta do that research.
Yeah. So sometimes I do searches. I feel like I'm giving all my good stuff away. I feel like people are gonna like do the same thing. Call this. I almost don't even want to share.
I mean, listen, share what you're comfortable with.
Okay, no, fine.
But you never know who you're helping.
Mindset of abundance. I have a mindset of abundance.
You got to be confident though.
Not a mindset of scarcity. There's enough for everyone. Yeah. Please. So anyways, a good tip that I used to get listings as well is I search by...
Let me write that down so I can steal it from you whenever I...
So anywho, what I did is, well, what I have done in the past is I'll search a property based on the time that it's been owned, the length, the longevity of the mortgage.
Okay.
So I would search for a mortgage mortgages that were 15 years old to 25 years old. Typically that means you've got a lot of equity if you've been, paying on a house for 15, 20 years. Typically that might mean that the person living there may be ready for a change to downsize or upsize or, cash in on their equity to move to an area they would have preferred to move in before and couldn't. So yeah.
Okay.
That's why I connect. That's one of the ways I connect.
Yeah, don't share all your secrets because, people out here listen. Nah, but I appreciate you sharing that. That's for somebody who's new or trying to learn a little bit more from you, because you look like you got, like I said, when I saw you on social media, you look like you have grasp. Like you look so, like, I think part of you even people being confident in what you do is, like you said, selling yourself and seeing like your social media, what's it looking like. And you're just all about the real estate game, like the way you carry yourself, what you post, all of that. I was like, she looks legit. And from, I wasn't mistaken because you sound legit too. You know your game. You know what I mean? You're in the mix. I got to give you your flowers. I was going to ask. Go ahead.
Well, also, that's so funny that you say that. And I do receive a lot of positive feedback about my social media presence.
Yep.
But what's crazy about it is that I didn't have Facebook or Instagram prior to being into real estate. And so having to relearn this and having to relearn, like, I have to post my everyday of what I'm doing. Like, I'm showing a house, I have to record it, or else did it really happen?
Yeah.
And so like relearning that, and like I look at it. And so I'm also a Virgo. I don't know if you believe in
my God. I don't, but go ahead.
So they say that Virgos are supposedly like perfectionists, whatever. And so for me, I'm very much so that. And I think that when I look at my social media presence, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so like trash at this. Like, I don't feel like I have a good social media presence or grasp.
Nah, it looks good.
Oh my gosh. But then you say that, or someone else is like, hey, Kat, can you show me how to do this? And I'm like, what? I'm learning, but I'll show you. But like, okay.
It looks clean. It looks like if I were to buy a house, I would look into someone who's like, looks like they got it right. You know what I mean? So that's good. That's important, So we can transition into talking, because you mentioned, and we were talking a couple of days ago, that you also have a nonprofit, which I think it's like amazing. I think it's very important. And you said that you started the nonprofit around the same time that you started your real estate. Am I correct?
So the idea was definitely born around the same time that I started my real estate journey. And that comes from, how do I put it? So in my childhood, I went through some traumatic events as far as like childhood abuse and things. And so I just knew after the passing of my partner that I felt like I had to help others, even through like my story and whatnot. So that was the birth of the Justice Project, which is the name of the nonprofit.
The Justice Project.
And
I like that name.
Yeah. And so growing up, abuse was something that was normal. And
in your life.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as like physical, emotional, mental things like that was normal. And it wasn't until I was actually taken out of my house by DFACS. And
what is DFACS?
So DFACS is basically like the government, the Division Family and Children Services.
Okay.
Yeah, DFACS.
Okay.
Yeah. And so what they handle is, children, all the needs of children. Like, what is that? Like food stamps, childcare, things like that. And if like, let's say that there's abuse going on, they may get involved, and they may have the authority to take away a child if they're not,
Got it.
Yeah. And so for me, that's what I experienced. And so experiencing that, and then just fast forwarding into an adulthood and kind of like not really receiving the proper like healing support, therapy, things like that. And especially like in a Hispanic household, I feel like a lot of that is normalized, and, getting help isn't really normalized, or, You know, a lot of
Yeah.
people's, even in a Hispanic household, if you have depression, it's almost like, yeah, go work out, you know?
Yeah, they don't believe too much on mental health.
Yeah.
And I can vouch for that.
Yeah. And it's very real. And so I was like, man, what if we can like get help to children right away? But not only that, what if we can educate families into how to react when a child,
It's being abused.
you know, and a lot of times children don't know what abuse is, and they don't know that this treatment isn't normal. They don't know that this is abuse. So it's almost like what questions to ask so that you're not giving them a red flag, like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm saying something I shouldn't say,
Right.
but like, how should I go about asking questions? Or what should I do when someone reports it to me,
Right.
you know, as an aunt or as a mom or as a, you know,
Right.
friend? What do I do?
Yeah.
You know, how do I not further traumatize this child?
You know, you mentioning that, and the first thing I thought about was like that's actually useful, but at the same time, I think it will be difficult for like, for example, if that child goes to like her aunt or uncle, because I feel like even even some of the family members have like the same mentality sometimes.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, how unfortunate it is because sometimes it's not even just about like within your household, but like even around the people you surround with, it's normalized, like the abuse that's happening. Or sometimes because they love, the brother or the sister so much, they won't snitch on them. They won't, you know what I mean? I feel like that's really tough.
And that's where like advocating is one of like the biggest things that we do, and like educating families and things like that, and letting people know like if your brother is abusing your, like, you should say something, you know.
Right.
Just because that's your family member doesn't mean that it's okay, you
Yeah.
know. And also like let's think about why they're doing these things. Like there's a reason, you know,
Yeah.
whether that's because maybe they have their own depression or their own, you know, negative things that they're dealing with that they're not receiving help for. So it's easier to then pick on a child or
Right.
someone that can't really fight back. So I just think this world needs a lot of healing. And
Amen.
if I can do anything about it and, you know, positively impact anyone, even
Yeah.
even if that's as little as like just sharing a book,
Right.
like I'm here to do that. And so eventually we want to start funding therapy sessions for families that aren't unable to afford that. Because like I was saying earlier, what a difference would the world be if when a child is suffering or is abused, how different could their life be if they received the proper healing support and love and nurturing
Right.
immediately versus going to the world for that, friends, drugs, alcohol, and then being an
Right.
adult trying to get a grasp of your mental health. As an
Damn.
adult trying to figure out, why do I have this depression? Why do I have anger management issues? Why am I going to drugs and alcohol for these things, you
Right.
know?
And sometimes not even understanding why, but it's like
Yeah.
subconscious. You don't even that you don't know.
Yeah. So it's like if we can positively impact the child, they
Yeah.
can live up to their full potential,
Right.
you know? And yeah. And so it's still very new.
Yes.
So I definitely love to hear any like comments, feedbacks that anyone watching may have. You know, if you have any ideas of ways that you believe that the Justice Project can help families outside of what's already mentioned, I would love to hear that. Right now it's a one-woman show, me. So I'm trying to like, you know, get it out there, but I'm also, this is where my perfectionist sides comes in. I feel like because I don't have a lot of things, because I'm a one-woman show, I still have so much to do
Right.
that I don't feel confident. And that's why I haven't brought it up in the social media world or like,
Not yet.
not yet.
It's coming though.
It's coming. I have an Instagram page, The Justice Project Inc. .ga.
So I'm gonna post all.
It might be
the links.
different. It
Don't
might
worry, I'll post the links.
Okay.
I'll send it to me and I'll post the links on my channel, especially on the comment section to everything, to your Instagram, your real estate, the Justice Project, anything else.
I appreciate that.
I got you. And I'm gonna post it on my socials, so I can start. You gotta start putting it out there. You gotta make sure that people are knowing. because I think it would be important, guys, if you're still listening at this point of the podcast, just if you have something to share, share it with us or share it with the comments, share it with somebody at least. And if you have, like Kat said, anything that, that you feel like it would be cool or good advice or something to take from it, then, definitely share that with us too, because it's a growing process and I feel like only good's going to come out of it. So,
and if you ever find yourself where you might be in a position where a family member or someone that may be abused, or you feel like they may need some support, there is a phone number on our website, thejusticeproject.org, that please feel free to connect with us. I'd be more than happy to, speak with you, whether that's, just to hear you out or also provide advice.
Wow.
I am a certified child victim advocate, by the way.
What does that mean?
So I did some schooling to educate myself on the proper way to deal with situations like, yeah, because there's an art to talking to a child after something like that has happened. There's an art to interviewing families and making sure that you're not being insensitive or,
I got you. That makes sense. Okay, Superwoman. I see you.
Not there yet,
man. But definitely thank you for sharing that.
But I also wanted to ask you, I mean, you shared
okay,
shared
so it's my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn. I feel like, I've watched some of your videos and it did get into your health issues, and I'm very curious. I mean, we haven't talked about this before.
So I'll give you. So what do you want to know exactly? Like, is there what's anything specific? On? So what do I suffer from?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you.
I know it's something gut related. I feel like
it's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I'm gonna give you an overview of a timeline, and then so you can understand how the process went and like where I'm at now. I'm not gonna get crazy deeply into it because a lot of my YouTube family already know. But because it's all good. It's all good. It's actually cool, and we can use this as clips and shorts and everything on it. So what happened in 2016, I had a really bad episode after I came from work, because I used to work with my stepdad in the painting field. So typically around that time, like when you were working like a day's job, right? And let's say you eat lunch around 12 p.m. or something. Well, you typically don't eat again until you get home. And around that time, I got home around 10 p.m. or something like that. Well, the only thing that was open close to my house was McDonald's. So I ended up getting, all this food and just eating it without basically chewing it because I was so hungry. Well, my heart started racing and I didn't understand why. I'm like, oh my God, I'm probably having like a heart attack. Something's going on. And throughout the night, my heart was racing really, really high. And to the point where like the next morning I woke up with like a huge headache because all the blood was rushing to my head. Well, I ended up going to a doctor and he sent me to a gastroenterologist. So it's a gastro doctor and then also a cardiologist. Well, the gastroenterologist put me on something called PPIs, which are proton pump inhibitors, which are acid reflux medication, acid reducers. Because if your stomach produces acid, and your stomach also produces a lining that covers that acid. If not, it'll burn through your because the acid is very strong. So anyways, that happened. I also got referred to a cardiologist, and let me tell you one of the defining moments in my life. I actually went to somebody called an electrophysiologist who specializes in your heart and then also like the way the electricity that your heart works, because your heart shoots electricity.
Yeah.
Well, I did a couple of exams, and one of them is called a stress test, where they put like all the leads and the EKGs, and you're walking or you're running. And if it looks abnormal, then you go see the electrophysiologist. Well, I went there, and this was at the end of close to the end of 2016. And she was like, after seeing your results, I'll recommend you getting heart surgery. And I was like, as soon as she said that, I was like, she kept talking, and I did not listen afterwards. I blanked. I was like, what?
Come again, please?
Yeah. So I was like, I asked her, like, what do you mean by that? Like, I need the heart surgery. Well, so it's basically I needed a cardiac ablation, which it's not an open heart surgery or anything, but they go through like your arteries and they go into your heart. essentially what they do is they try to burn or freeze the extra electricity that's producing, because if that electricity flows the wrong way, it can stop your heart. You go into cardiac arrest
Okay.
type thing, right? So
Wow.
I go outside in my car and I'm crying and I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, I'm 23. I was so active and now I can't do anything. And on top of that, I'm having gastro problems. So I started a couple months after like that event, the original event, I started regurgitating my food. So it's like when
Wow.
your stomach
Yeah.
is regurgitating food into my esophagus, and also having acid reflux.
Yeah.
So I had to look into that too. And I ended up having the cardiac ablation surgery, which was really tough for me. And to be honest, very traumatizing, because, having a heart surgery at the end of at 23, it's like, dude, what have your
Yeah.
life come to? So God, just took care of me that day. And the doctor went in to do the procedure, and they didn't find anything. Like, my heart was like completely healthy.
Look at
Yeah. It
God.
was
That's
completely. Typically, the surgery will last, like a catheter ablation, it will last from like 4 to 6 hours. But I came out of there in like 2 to 3 hours, because the doctor couldn't find anything. And if you were ever to see like how the procedure is, they put like a lot of padding and things so they can see your heart in 3D, right, on the screen. And they actually, if I'm not mistaken, they put like some type of adrenaline into your heart so it can make your heart beat faster while you're during the procedure, because that's the way they'll probably make that electricity. But nothing ever happened. And so that was, a blessing, knowing that my heart was good, it was healthy, and it wasn't my heart that was a problem. So I ended up having, now we're going into 2017. I promise now it gets easier. But in 2017, I ended up having a procedure that's called a knee fundoplication procedure. They essentially wrap the top of your stomach around your esophagus, so it can cause like a belt, like extra strength. So when you swallow and your food goes down and your water goes down, liquid or whatever, it doesn't come up anymore.
Oh, okay.
But that surgery ended up failing, and it did me even worse than I was before, for many different reasons. But it's a big surgery that basically changes your anatomy of your body.
Yeah.
So after 2 years, I ended up getting that taken down. And during that period, I went through a lot. My heart racing issues continued because of that surgery. I mean, I was, I couldn't even walk from like the parking lot to my class when I was in school. I had an Uber like for a minute. That's how bad it got.
Wow.
Because my heart was being affected what was going on from that surgery.
And how were you like mentally going through
Oh
that?
man, to be honest, I don't know why I didn't commit suicide, because I went through so much. Like, if I'm being honest, yeah,
that's a lot.
I went through dark places. And on top of that, I was close to graduating with my master's degree at that point. So because of that whole process, I was not able to graduate because I was so sick. Again, I couldn't walk from the parking lot to class. I couldn't sleep very well because of my health issues. I would sleep like 3-4 hours per night, and that's it. So it was slowly killing me. And because of that same event, I had to postpone like graduating from my master's degree. And I was so proud, because I ended up finishing my master's degree in like 16 months. But because of one class, when my health was deteriorating, like it was getting lower, it was getting worse, I ended up like not doing so well. So I had to retake other classes, and I graduated on time.
Okay.
But not early. So I wanted to do it early, It's like, I think it was a pride thing. And eventually I ended up having another surgery that removed the old surgery, and they put something called a Lynx device.
Oh.
And it's like a bracelet for your esophagus, for the LES. It's called the lower esophageal sphincter. So the LES is where your esophagus meets your stomach. So you're healthy, you don't have any problems with reflux. This opens and closes very well for you, right? So when you're swallowing, the muscles tell the opening to open, and they open in your stomach. And now when the food gets to your stomach, it closes normally and nothing comes up, and you sleep very well. Everything's good. Yeah, you're able to eat and drink anything.
So where did they? Where was the incision?
Oh, there's 5 right from the first surgery, and there's another 5 from like the second surgery.
So you're pointing at your, so okay.
So there's one here, there's like two here, one here. The biggest one is down here because I think that's where like the camera and other things
So
go.
your belly button?
Close to your belly button.
Oh, I'm surprised they didn't see I'm surprised that they didn't use your belly button as one of the.
No, they put something in there. I don't know exactly what it was that they put on my belly button, but no, it was close to my belly button, and there's another one like on the sides because they need like the air to blow your stomach in so they can, work around it, and then also like, for the doctor to do. So it's called a laparoscopic procedure.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, it's
okay,
laparoscopic.
yeah.
It's not just a big ass.
Okay.
Yeah, which is great because
smaller incisions.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
Like if you were to look at me from far away, you wouldn't even be tell like I have like the
Yeah.
incisions. But if you look at close and you point it, you can point it out.
Yeah.
So even that was like a concern. I was like, now I'm gonna be all scarred up, bro. Like, cause every time I have a surgery, it's 5 new incisions that I have, So I ended up having that, and that's how I started like recovering a little bit with like I started walking more, and it was a struggle, even getting like, to be real, like intimate with like a woman was struggle because I was having this anxiety. Working out was an anxiety. Like if I went to a place and I ate around people was an anxiety, all that stuff. It was just a lot.
That's interesting to hear your perspective about this journey because I never would have thought that men even cared about having scars or any of that.
Well, yeah. I mean, because you're looking at it and you're just like, damn, I wonder how bad the scars would be was my concern, right? Like I got no choice at this point, but they don't look too bad now. Like it's, but you can feel it, you can touch it. And I've actually shown my YouTube channel, like my scars right after surgery. And like, they're all like purple, from surgery. Yeah. But that now moving 3 years later after that. So that was in 2019. So basically 4 now going into 5. I've had that surgery since then. And I still have my struggles, unfortunately. And I'm looking to getting another procedure in the future. Don't know when yet, but we will see. I've taken it slower the past 2 years. Just kind of slow down. I've been put under way too much. I've been going through a lot. So I was just like, let me just take a break from it. And I also suffer from prostatitis, which is like another freaking situation that I went through. And to be honest, a lot of my subscribers.
What is that? I've never even heard of that.
So prostatitis. So men have something called prostate, right? And that is, it's hard to explain, but it's right next to your anus. And so being real here, like, how do I say this without sounding so insensitive? But like, have you ever heard of like that's our G spot?
Oh, okay.
You ever heard of that?
I feel like I
have you heard of that?
Yeah,
like, so that's why, because it's so close, like, and you can, all
the things.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but it has obviously a different function. But when prostatitis, anything with itis, it's basically inflammation. So prostate prostatitis, I had bacterial prostatitis. So there was a bacteria in my prostate that I assume came from like the issues with my gastro, because this is not researched very well. But when I was doing my research, and a lot of people that I talked to through my community and my YouTube channel, they have talked about how there's like a correlation between like stomach issues and like, the what's going on in your gastro. It's a correlation with your prostate. So I suffer from prostatitis, and it was major because when I would ejaculate, my heart rate would go crazy. I'm talking about like 150, 160, 170, like range from
like you're running a marathon.
You're like if I was full sprint.
Wow.
And I will start getting into like the shivers, and I'm shaking and I'm scared and for a long time, for like months, I didn't know why it was. Like, what's going on with me, And I never even thought about checking my prostate because I had no idea.
What were you thinking? Like, were you like, oh, this
well,
thing must be good or something?
I'm like, no, am I that messed up?
Oh, okay.
Because my heart rate's like, I'm not you're not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
When you listen, when you're getting intimate with somebody, you're supposed to get excited. You're supposed, heart rate goes up, like you feel it, right? But it's not supposed to go that high
sweats and shivers.
Yeah, exactly. When I was, because I'm like shook. So getting to the process of like getting intimate with a woman again was very hard, because you need somebody you needed to trust, and like you needed to at least get comfortable. Dude, I'm telling you, I went through it because I was just not able to get myself through that process. And I'm I'm young, on the young side. So like, I'm like, bro, what is going on with my life? So I'm just like, I'm effed up. I'm fucked. But eventually somebody guided me to see a urologist, and it turned out that I had a prostate exam, and the doctor told me I had bacterial prostatitis. So I took medication, and everything started fading away. Like the back pain was gone. I had like a sciatic nerve pain that was gone, because when your prostate is inflamed, it grows, and all the muscles around it are being affected by it. So that's where everything was deriving from. And now, of course, I still have lingering things from it, but like it's nothing close to what it used to be.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to urology,
bro. So urology, it came clutch, dude. I've suffered for like 6 months like that, and anytime I would ejaculate, I was just, because when you ejaculate, it passes through the the prostate, and I guess when that was happening, I was going through it, man.
So like, what was the recovery time like, as far as the sweats from the time of the rocket launch to
from like the process when I was dealing with it?
Yeah.
Oh man, it probably took like 30 minutes, an hour. Like I was for a minute, because it will take a while for, like, first of all, my heart rate to go back down, because my anxiety itself. Anxiety will give you your heart rate to jump up. But it took me about 30 minutes to an hour, and I would have to put the heater on, because I had a little heater on my, and I would be like putting a cover on top, because I will get so cold.
Oh wow.
So because of all those processes, I'm like, when I go into the cold, I get cold really easily. Oh wow. Yeah.
Oh well, I get cold so easily too.
Yeah, like I get really, really, like, it's just bad. So, and sometimes it's, as embarrassed as it sounds, I'm like, I might need to call 911 after this. I have a story. I don't know if it's appropriate to tell, but I might tell it to you in private when it came to, it's funny, man. And it's something along those similar around those issues. But yeah, it was very, very tough.
That sounds very challenging.
Yeah, very tough.
I'm glad that everything's better now, or
a little bit better. Yeah. No, we're down. Yeah, no, we're chilling.
Okay.
People, when I tell people things like that, they're like, "Oh, like, so wait, so you don't get hard?" I'm like, "No, like that's not a problem. Like we're chilling in that aspect." It was the ejaculation part when I would come, like, because when you do come or whatever the case may be, all those emotions flow. Mm-hmm. Well, that was so heavy, because remember, like, I have been tampered with in this area, and you feel those emotions all over your body. So when you squeeze your muscles and stuff, that's even worse for me because of the chest area. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So adding the prostatitis and the health issues for my stomach, everything just became like,
wow.
Crap.
Well, that is a story.
That's a story.
That's a journey.
It's a whole journey, man. Like it's been so much. But now I make videos on my prostatitis, and a lot of men have appreciated it. Actually, one of the comments was like, dude, I don't even know how you share this with other men. Like the fact that you're just sharing it to the world, and like my highest viewed on like video on my channel is like 60,000 views, and it's on prostatitis because I have it as prostatitis at the age of 27, because that's when I was going through it.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of men can relate. Yeah, a lot of men can relate. So I spread awareness.
Because I'm sure that a lot of people would not feel comfortable sharing that.
Yeah.
Or sharing
especially men.
Yeah.
Come on. Especially men in your private part. Like, you're the homie.
But that shows strength right there to share.
I appreciate you, my girl. And I appreciate
and empower other people on the same journey.
Oh, you gassing me up right now? Are you returning the love? I appreciate that. That's what you're doing.
And being a light for those in a dark time going through something serious.
Go ahead, keep going. Don't stop. I'm here.
You've made it out. You're on your way further out. And you are a great example to the world.
All right, bro. You know what? When I need what is that called? A PR agent, I got you. I'm gonna go to you.
We believe in Carlos for 2024.
Carlos, oh God, don't believe in me then. But yeah, essentially that's what happened, and that's what I've been suffering from. So those are where a lot of my issues come from. So hopefully that gives you a better idea on like what's going on.
Yeah. I was over here thinking it was like gut something. I don't know. I saw a hashtag.
Yeah, no, it is. It is gut health. It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So here we are.
That's a heck of a story. I love that.
Yeah. And because of those issues, eventually other issues came. Well, because whatever. But is there anything else you would like to share to the world, to the community before we leave today?
No, there's nothing else. Thank you so much for joining us today and
Thank you.
hearing us chat about our different topics.
Yeah, man, this was good.
Yeah.
This was very informative. I appreciate you sharing all the knowledge in real estate and sharing your life story, because I know it's not easy and for other people to hear, but that means a lot. You never know who you can help, you know.
Yeah.
I've always said that if you can help one person, then all the negative or anything, all the comments, all the negative thoughts that people say doesn't matter, because that one person matters in everything else.
That's right.
All right. So, guys, thank you for listening to this podcast. I had a really great time. Thank you for joining me, Katherine. I'm going to put all the socials and all the information on the comment section of the YouTube channel, and most likely on the podcast channels as well. So don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're growing, you know, trying to get our way to our 4K. So don't forget to also listen to the podcast, you know, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and also Amazon Music. As always, familia, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and peace and love, baby. See you guys in the next one.